MTV24. I am Kim Seabrook, and you're watching The Good Look in the News. And you already know what I like to start off with, New York City. And what else to start off with today? The winners announced in the final rounds for New York City mayor and borough presidents. After days of anticipation, New Yorkers are finally experiencing some relief now that the Board of Elections has released the ranked choice voting numbers. The results now include absentee ballots during the final rounds of the ranked choice vote, counting determining the mayor, borough presidents, and comptroller. So Eric Adams pulled out a narrow win over Catherine Garcia in the 8th round of ranked choice voting with over 403,000 votes, taking the 51% lead. Garcia missed the win by less than 10,000 votes. In the comptroller race, Brad Lander pulled out a win in the 10th round of the ranked choice voting with 52% of the vote. Corey Johnson held on to the remaining 48% of the vote. Johnson conceded the race after the results were released and congratulated Lander on his win. And for borough president in Brooklyn, Antonio Reynoso took the win over Joanne Simon at 55%. And in the Bronx, Miss Vanessa Gibson, who I know personally, came out over Fernando Cabrera with 54% of the vote. And not only that, she made history to be the first black woman as the Bronx borough president. So let's not forget to mention that, but the results still need to be certified. The city council ranked choice voting primary results are out right now as well. And also in New York City, the mayoral candidate Maya Wiley has strongly criticized the city's Board of Elections after Brooklyn Borough President Eric Adams emerged as winner of the Democratic primary just yesterday. Wiley, former counsel to Mayor Bill de Blasio, called the election process a debacle after she was eliminated in the 8th round of the new ranked choice voting system. The Democratic primary was marred by a major error when the BOE was forced to retract initial results after inadvertently including 135,000 test ballots along with real votes cast in the election. The former police officer Eric Adams triumphed in the 8th round over counting over former Sanitation Commissioner Catherine Garcia after Wiley was eliminated. Wiley issued a statement criticizing the BOE and pointing to the fact that the board had said results would be out by brunch, but they came later in the day. It would be an understatement to express dismay at the BOE's administration of this election. And that has made today's brunch at dinner time a long and drawn out day for New Yorkers. Wiley said New York City's voters deserve better, and the BOE must completely be remade following what can only be described as a debacle. The BOE said on Tuesday that no votes were lost despite the initial error in tabulation. Dawn Sando, Deputy Executive Director of the BOE, said the reporting error was unacceptable, and we apologize to the voters of our great city for this error. We're trying to satisfy expectations of quick results with the new way of voting, Sando said. But we can say with certainty this issue caused no votes to be lost, no voters disenfranchised, and no incorrect results to be certified. Wiley and Garcia had not conceded the race at the time of writing, but Adams issued a statement appearing to cautiously declare victory. While there are still some very small amounts of votes to be counted, the results are clear. A historic, diverse 5-borough coalition led by working-class New Yorkers had led us to victory in the Democratic primary for mayor of New York City, Adams said. And next, we have Bronx hosting job fair for those looking to become. An EMT special job fair is being hosted Wednesday in the Bronx for anyone interested in becoming an EMT. The job fair is being held at Hunter Ambulance at 1028 Freeman Street from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. The fair will help recruits trainees for the Earn While You Learn program that starts on July 26th, and recruits will be hired full-time as they get necessary EMT certifications. Just wanted to throw that in there for you. Next, New York City Corrections captain approved his own bogus overtime hours. A New York City Corrections captain is under investigation for allegedly stamping his own time cards with inflated overtime hours, sources told us. Wayne Prince, 41, billed for 16 and a half hours on 16 days between April and June. Even though he didn't work all those hours, sources said. Prince started working overtime on around April 7th to teach classes for an upcoming promotional exam, despite the class already being taught by retired members of service whom the department already pays. And on each of those days, the captain clocked in 16 and a half hours of overtime, even though each class typically only lasted 4 to 5 hours. It's unclear how many hours Prince claimed he worked each day. Sources said that the base salary for a Department of Correction captain is $114,000. Prince could not be reached. And according to the sources, Prince was the 8th highest overtime earner among captains in the department in 2019. Well, of course he was. Look how many hours he claimed to put in. But no, he was subsequently sanctioned from working any more extra hours for the remainder of the year, but still continued to sign off on his own overtime slips with a rubber stamp. And that's what happened in that news. But we're going to move forward. And I wanted to add this on because we're talking about work hours and work weeks and days. So in Iceland, right, a 4-day work week deemed an overwhelming success after trial. Because why? Less is more in Iceland, where a shortened work week led to better outcomes for workers and employers alike, according to new study results. The trial involved trimming people's work hours without trimming their pay in order to see how it would affect their health, happiness, and productivity. Iceland rolled out the trial to 2,500 workers across a variety of industries from 2015 to 2019 as part of an experiment run by the UK-based think tank Autonomy and Iceland's Association for Sustainable Democracy. The test group amounts to roughly 1% of the tiny island nation's population. But many employers cut their work week from 40 hours to 35 or 36. Workplaces also specifically focus on being more efficient during their limited hours by cutting meetings, altering work patterns, and reorganizing shift work. Employees reported a dramatic improvement in their well-being, including lower stress and a better work-life balance over the trial period. And researchers had noticed that. So productivity had improved or remained the same in a majority of cases, employers said. But this study shows that the world's largest ever trial of a shorter working week in the public sector was by all measures an overwhelming success. You know why? It shows that the public sector is ripe for being a pioneer of shorter working weeks, and lessons can be learned from other governments. Employees reported a dramatic improvement in their well-being, including lower stress and a better work-life balance over the trial period. Productivity improved, of course, or remained the same in the majority of cases, but employers stated. And that the Icelandic shorter working week journal tells us that not only is it possible to work less in modern times, but that progressive change is possible too. The large-scale trial is expected to inspire other communities that are experimenting with shorter work weeks around the world, including in Canada. Hopefully they move it over here to the US of A. And next we have 14 days after Florida condo collapse, no signs of survivors. The search for victims of the collapse of a Miami area high-rise condominium reached its 14th day today, with the death toll at 3 dozen, more than 100 people still unaccounted for, and authorities sounding more and more grim. Crews on Tuesday dug through pulverized concrete where the Champlain Tower South building in Surfside once stood, filling buckets that were passed down the line to be emptied and then returned. The up-close look at the search complements a video released by the Miami-Dade County Fire Rescue Department. It came as 8 more deaths were announced, the most for a single day since the search began. It also came as rain and wind from Tropical Storm Elsa disrupted the effort. The storm was on track to make landfall far across the state. No one has been rescued from the site since the first hours after the building collapsed on June 24th, when many of its residents were asleep. Searchers were still looking for any open spaces within the mounds of rubble where additional survivors might be found, said the county's fire chief, Alan Kaminsky. Unfortunately, we are not seeing anything positive. Sad story. Prayers. We definitely send our prayers out to the families. And Tropical Storm Elsa weakened spares Florida of major damage. A weakened Tropical Storm Elsa dumped rain along a long stretch of Florida's Gulf Coast early today, but appears to have spared the state significant damage and power outages. Elsa wobbled through the Gulf of Mexico, briefly reaching hurricane strength, but was expected to move ashore as a tropical storm. Tornado warnings were issued in several northern Florida counties, including the Gainesville area just today, this morning, and heavy rain and gusty winds are expected across northern Florida once the storm makes an expected turn to the northeast. Some flooding is also expected in the region where the ground is already saturated from heavy rain late last week. Tropical storm warnings were canceled for Cape Coral and Fort Myers further north. The Tampa Bay metropolitan area, while wet and windy, appears to have emerged mostly unscathed. Tampa was no longer under a hurricane warning, but the weather forecasters did warn of tropical storm conditions, including strong winds and flash flooding. The two electric utilities that serve the region, Duke Energy and TECO Energy, reported that just under 5,000 customers were without power at 7 a.m. So we're fortunate to see minimal damage and flooding this morning, but it's important to keep safety top of mind. So please be aware of your surroundings. Don't drive through floodwaters, Tampa Mayor Jane Castor said via Twitter. And next, we have the 10-year struggle ends with Hannah Jones charting the new course. A Black investigative journalist who won a Pulitzer Prize for her groundbreaking work on the bitter legacy of slavery in the United States just announced Tuesday that she would not join the faculty at the University of North Carolina, following an extended tenure fight marked by allegations of racism and conservative backlash about her work. Nicole Hannah Jones will instead accept a chair professorship at Howard University, a historically Black school that's located in Washington, D.C. The dispute over whether North Carolina's flagship public university will grant Hannah Jones a lifetime faculty appointment had prompted weeks of outcry from within and beyond its Chapel Hill campus. Numerous professors and alumni voiced frustration, and Black students and faculty questioned during protests whether the predominantly white university values them. And what we're going to do, we're going to go into a quick break. You're watching Millennium TV 24 News. I'm Kim Seabrook. We'll be right back.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
We're back. Thank you for staying tuned in. And I want to go back into our story with Nicole Hannah Jones. So she declines UNC the tenure and will join Howard University. And while UNC belatedly offered her tenure last week, Hannah Jones said in an interview that the unfairness of how she was treated as a Black woman steered her toward turning the offer down. I wanted to send a powerful message, or what I hope to be a powerful message, that we're often treated like we should be lucky that these institutions let us in, said Hannah Jones, who earned a master's degree from UNC. But we don't have to go to those institutions if we don't want to. Hannah Jones, who won the Pulitzer Prize for her work on the New York Times Magazine's 1619 project focusing on America's history of slavery, noted that she hadn't sought out the job and was recruited by UNC's journalism dean before her tenure application stalled amid objections by a powerful donor and concerns by conservatives about her work. I wasn't seeking to get academia, Hannah Jones stated. It was the particular job at this particular place that I wanted to go and give back to the university that helped me build the career that I built. The 45-year-old Hannah Jones will instead accept a tenured position at the Knight Chair in Race and Journalism at Howard, which also announced Tuesday that the award-winning journalist and author Ta-Nehisi Coates is joining its faculty. Coates, who won a National Book Award for Between the World and Me, and Hannah Jones have both been given MacArthur Genius Grants for their writings. Salute to her. You got to go with your guns. You got to stand up for something, or you fall for anything. So next, California is to pay victims of forced coerced sterilizations. This story is so interesting. California is poised to approve reparations up to $25,000 to victims who were among the thousands of people, some as young as 13, who decades ago were sterilized because state officials deemed them unfit to have children. 13 years old. 13 years old. Let's keep going. The payment's part of the state's new $262.6 billion operating budget that is awaiting Governor Gavin Newsom's signature will make California at least the third state, after Virginia and North Carolina, to pay victims of the so-called eugenics movement that peaked in the 1930s. Proponents believe sterilizing people with mental illnesses, physical disabilities, and other so-called undesirable traits would improve the human race. There's a lot of things that would improve the human race, but let's move forward. California's proposal is unique because it would apply to more than just victims of the eugenics law that was repealed in 1979. The state also will pay female inmates who were coerced to get sterilized, a disgrace first exposed by the Center of Investigative Reporting in 2013. A subsequent audit found that the state sterilized 144 women between 2005 and 2013, with little or no evidence that officials counseled them or offered alternative treatment. So while all of the women signed consent forms in 39 cases, state officials did not do everything that was legally required to obtain their permission. We must address and face our horrific history, said Lorena Garcia, Policy and Communications Coordinator for the advocacy group, California Latinas and Reproductive Justice. This isn't something that just happened in the past. California's forced sterilization program started in 1909, following similar laws in Indiana and Washington. California's program was by far the largest. The state sterilized more than 20,000 people. Sterilized more than 20,000 people, accounting for about a third of everyone sterilized in the United States under those laws. California law was so prominent that it even inspired similar practices in Nazi Germany. That's according to Paul Lombardo, who's a law professor at Georgia State University and an expert on the eugenics movement. So the promise of the eugenics at the very earliest is, we could do away with all the state institutions, prisons, hospitals, asylums, orphanages, Lombardo said. People who were in them just wouldn't be born after a while if you sterilized all of their parents. In California, victims include Mary Franco, who was sterilized in 1934 when she was just 13. Paperwork described her as feeble-minded because of sexual deviance, according to her niece, Stacy Cordova, who has researched her case. Cordova has mentioned that Franco actually was molested by a neighbor. She said her family put Franco in an institution to protect the family's reputation. And this happens so often. I know back then, but even in the recent years, that when molestation happens in a house, they keep it quiet and they don't want anybody to know because they don't want shame on their family. But Sterilizations in California prisons appear to date to 1999 when the state changed its policy for unknown reasons to include a sterilization procedure known as tubal ligation as part of inmates' medical care. Over the next decade, women reported that they were coerced into this procedure, with some not fully understanding the ramifications. A state law passed in 2014 banned sterilizations for the purpose of birth control at state prisons and local jails. The law permits sterilizations that are medically necessary, such as removing cancer, and requires facilities to report each year how many people were sterilized and for what reason. Questionable sterilizations also occurred in facilities run by local governments. In 2018, the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors apologized for the more than 200 women who were sterilized at Los Angeles USC Medical Center between 1968 and 1974. Those people are not eligible for reparations under California's program, but advocates say that they hope to include them in the future. California's Victim Compensation Board will run the program with $2 million to find victims by advertising and pouring through state records. The state also set aside $1 million for plaques to honor the victims, leaving $4.5 million for reparations. Just forget about the plaques and give them the reparations. There's other people who need reparations too, but let's move forward. So, what is next in news? We have, unfortunately, Haiti President Jovenel Moise assassinated at home. Haitian president was assassinated and attacked on his private residence early today, Wednesday, according to a statement from the country's interim prime minister, who called the killing a hateful, inhumane, and barbaric act. First Lady Martine Moise was shot in the overnight attack and hospitalized, Interim Premier Claude Joseph said. Even before the assassination, Haiti had grown increasingly unstable and disgruntled under Moise. The president ruled by decree for more than 2 years after the country failed to hold elections, and the opposition demanded that he step down in recent months. So, the country's security situation is under the control of the National Police of Haiti and the Armed Forces of Haiti, Joseph said in a statement. And democracy and the republic will win. In the early morning hours of Wednesday, the streets were largely empty in the Caribbean nation's capital of Port-au-Prince, but some people ransacked businesses in one area. Joseph said police that had been deployed to the National Palace in the upscale community of Petitionville and will be sent to other areas. Joseph condemned the assassination as a hateful, inhumane, and barbaric act. In a statement, he says some of the attackers spoke in Spanish, but offered no further explanation. He later said in the radio address that they spoke Spanish or English, again offering no details. The White House described the attack as horrific and tragic again, as it was still gathering information on what exactly happened. But U.S. President Joe Biden will brief later Wednesday by his national security team. Spokesman Jen Psaki said during an interview, and Haiti's economic, political, and social woes have deepened recently, with gang violence spiking heavily in Port-au-Prince, inflation spiraling, and food and fuel becoming scarcer at times in a country where 60% of the population makes less than $2 a day. These troubles come as Haiti still tries to recover from the devastating 2010 earthquake and Hurricane Matthew that struck in 2016. Opposition leaders accused Moise, who was 53, of seeking to increase his power, including by approving a decree that limited the powers of a court that audits government contracts and another that created an intelligence agency that answers only to the president. And in recent months, opposition leaders demanded that he step down, arguing that his term legally ended in February 2021. Moise and supporters maintained that his term began when he took office in early 2017, following a chaotic election that forced the appointment of a provisional president to serve during a year-long gap. Haiti was scheduled to hold general elections later this year. And next, bodies of plane crash victims found in Russia's Far East. Rescuers have found that the bodies of 19 victims a day after a plane crash in a remote area in Russia's Far East. The authorities stated that an Antonov AN-26 carrying 28 people crashed Tuesday near its destination town of Polana in the region of Kamachka, apparently as it came in for a landing in bad weather. The plane was en route from the city of Petropolis and to Polana on Tuesday morning when it missed a scheduled communication and disappeared from radar. Wreckage was found Tuesday evening on a coastal cliffside and in the sea, and the search and rescue operation was suspended until Wednesday morning after the night fell, as the crash site was difficult to access in the dark. The governor of Kamchatka, Vladimir Solodov, told the state tasked news agency that the first bodies are being pulled out of the water. Russia's emergency ministry said that the remains of 19 victims have been found so far, and one of them has been identified already. Russian media reported Tuesday that none of the 6 crew members or 22 passengers on board had survived. The head of the local government in Polana, Olga, was among the passengers. Spokespeople of the Kamchatka government said, and police are investigating the incident, looking at 3 possible causes of the crash, which could be bad weather, equipment malfunction, or pilot error. President Vladimir Putin on Wednesday morning extended his condolences to the families of the victims, and in 2012, an Antonov An-28 plane belonging to Kamchatka Aviation Enterprise also crashed into a mountain while flying the same route as Tuesday's flight. A total of 14 people were on board and 10 of them were killed. Both pilots who were among the dead were found to have alcohol in their blood. And that's that news. Well, we're going to go into commercial break. I'm Kim Seabrook. We'll be right back.
Millennium TV, bridging communities worldwide. We broadcast diverse international content from Europe, Asia, Africa, and now right here in the USA. Watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Submit your own content to 1530entertainmentllc@gmail.com. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
And welcome back to Millennium TV 24. And next in news, Spanish police arrest 2 for migrant tragedy in the Atlantic. And Wednesday that they had arrested 2 people for their alleged responsibility in the deaths of more than 20 migrants who perished last month while trying to cross the Atlantic Ocean to the Canary Islands. Police said in a statement that they detained the suspected human trafficker and the suspected captain of the craft that was reached by the Spanish rescue services on June 30th after 13 days adrift. Only 29 people were found by rescuers. Police believe that between 52 to 60 people had boarded the boat from its departure point in Dakhla. That's a coastal town in the territory of Western Sahara. Among the dead was a 5-year-old girl who perished while aboard a rescue helicopter before it could reach a hospital on the Spanish islands. Police investigations determined that both the trafficker and the captain were among those who were rescued. They were arrested on charges of homicide and abetting unauthorized immigration. And next, what do we have? Shooting of Star Dutch reporter. raises European concern. European leaders and lawmakers expressed dismay Wednesday, and rights advocates demanded justice after a veteran Dutch crime reporter was shot in the head in downtown Amsterdam. That was following the TV appearance. Peter R. de Vries, a journalist celebrated for his courageous reporting on the Dutch underworld, was fighting for his life in an Amsterdam hospital after the Tuesday night shooting. 2 suspects remained in custody Wednesday, while a third person detained Tuesday night was let go, according to a Dutch police statement. The motive for the attack was not disclosed. Supporters brought flowers to the crime scene, still cordoned off by the police. The shooting shocked the Netherlands and prompted outrage from top Dutch officials, but it also struck a chord elsewhere in Europe, where such attacks are rare and where the killings of journalists in Slovakia and Malta in recent years raised concerns about reporter safety in developed democratic societies. So we might disagree with a lot we see in our media, but we have to agree that journalists investigating potential abuses of power are not a threat but an asset to our democracies and our societies. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen told us that the lawmakers just Wednesday, and European Council President Charles Michel called the shooting a crime against our fundamental value of freedom of the press. De Vries, 64, had long been considered a possible target of the criminals he reported on. Police and prosecutors declined to comment on whether he received police protection. De Vries won an international Emmy in 2008 for a television show he made about the disappearance of U.S. teenager Natalie Hollowell while she was on holiday in the Dutch Caribbean island of Aruba in 2005. And next, in Argentina, it becomes the first country in the world to ban salmon farming. Now here's some little health news for you. And the Argentine province of Tierra del Fuego approved a bill this week that bans salmon farming. The practice has come under fire due to concerns about sustainability. The decision follows a proposal to begin farming in the Beagle Channel in Tierra del Fuego. And according to Merco Press, it's the only area that Argentina could feasibly farm salmon in. Lawmakers unanimously approved the bill to ban salmon farming. Why? Because the decision is the first of its kind globally, actually. This is very important because once this industry is installed, it is very difficult to combat it, even when they commit illegalities and environmental disasters. The impacts they leave can be irreversible. In the eyes of the world, it manages to take a tremendous step towards protecting the ecosystem and also its culture, she said. Is salmon farming sustainable? Salmon farming has attracted criticism for its impact on the planet and animal welfare. Fish farms spread parasites like sea lice to each other, but also wild fish. To combat this, farmers use antibiotics. However, these then enter the surrounding waters, contributing to antibiotic resistance in both marine life and the people consuming them. So there's no right way to do the wrong thing, Gonzalez commented. Salmons are an exotic species in the seas of Argentina and Chile. They are not a species that is present naturally. Therefore, the amount of chemicals and antibiotics that are needed for their production and the impact they generate on the ecosystem makes it practically impossible for this activity to be carried out without environmental consequences. So, good stuff. No farm salmon, wild caught, wild caught, wild caught. But next, did you hear about the vegan teacher? Why did TikTok ban her? Unless you've been living under a rock, you probably heard of that vegan teacher. I guess I didn't hear of this until I started researching this today. And why does she keep going viral on TikTok? So here we go. Otherwise known as Katie Karen Dykmeyer, the vegan teacher is an elementary school teacher and vegan advocate. She posts educational videos on activism and veganism on social media, garnering millions of likes. Moreover, she regularly promotes veganism through song and has a Spotify playlist of her original creations. That vegan teacher had garnered a staggering 1.6 million followers on TikTok before she was banned. Despite that vegan teacher's popularity, some of her content has stirred controversy online. And here is why. Most of the criticism comes from Dykemeyer's comparison of animal agriculture to the Holocaust, as well as her use of terms such as meat is murder. Earlier this year, she came under fire for arguing that coming out as a vegan is more special than coming out as gay. Coming out as a vegan animal rights activist, as someone who cares beyond themselves, is much more special than it is to become out as a member of the LGBT community, she said. Coming out as a member of that community is an entirely selfish act. It's talking about you, only you. It's not talking about the things you're going to do to better the world. And this is stated from her. More recently, TikTok banned that vegan teacher for violating community guidelines. The move followed a petition urging the social media platform to delete the activist's account. It has garnered more than 20,000 signatures at the time of writing. Being a vegan or vegetarian is a healthful lifestyle that is a choice for some people, the petition reads. However, it isn't always the best option medically or financially. The creator, known as That Vegan Teacher, has violated multiple community guidelines in the various videos, duets, and sounds. She's a former certified educator, however, has no background in veterinary nor human medicine. She has made blatantly racist, bigoted, discriminatory statements against anyone who doesn't view veganism her way and her way alone. She has promoted multiple films that are dangerous to children, giving TikTok's 13-year-old age requirements, and many children under that age access it on a daily basis. These videos show violent depictions of animal slaughter and graphic details, and her targets have included minors under 18, the LGBT community, persons with disabilities, people of the Black community, various religions, and more. Multiple reports have been made against her content, yet her platform remains active. And next in vegan, NBA legend Scottie Pippen launches vegan superfood popcorn. Six-time NBA champion Scottie Pippen has launched a health-focused vegan popcorn brand called Husk. The former basketball pro teamed up with Chef R.C. Mills to create the plant-based snacks. The popcorn is available in 6 unique flavors: moringa, yacon, and turmeric, kale and broccoli, spirulina and dragon fruit, matcha and coconut water, and cayenne and ginger. The snacks, which launched today, are organic and free from gluten and GMOs. Pippen explained that he just wanted to craft a snack food that was satisfying but also nutritious. Six-time NBA champion Scottie Pippen has launched, as I stated, a health food-focused vegan popcorn called Husk. And moving forward, it's showing it twice, so I guess you want to know, we're going to say it again. The unique flavors that it comes is moringa, turmeric and kale and broccoli, spirulina, dragon fruit, matcha and coconut water, and last but not least, the cayenne and ginger flavor. And again, these are free from gluten and all GMOs, and he just wanted to know and spread something out, make something that was a snack food, was satisfying but also nutritious. In case you didn't hear it the first time, I had to say it again. But what I have is something fun and exciting. As a big kid on Sesame Street, Elmo gets a puppy. Elmo, Grover, Abby, Cadabby, and the rest of the Muppet gang are introducing a new character to the show this summer, a white and brown puppy named Tango. So we wanted, Sesame Street is saying, we wanted to explore the special bond between children and pets by introducing this new character, says Kay Wilson Stallings, the Executive Vice President and of Creative and Production at Sesame Workshop. So, Tango will join Sesame Street's 52nd season as both an animated character and a live-action Muppet, debuting this fall on HBO Max and streaming on PBS Kids in 2022. The pup is first introduced in a 30-minute animated special, Furry Friends Forever. Elmo Gets a Puppy, debuting on HBO Max on August 5th. She's technically Elmo's second pet. He has been caring for goldfish Dorothy for several years. He's done quite well taking care of his goldfish, said Wilson Stallings. So we thought he's been successful with taking care of Dorothy. and that this could be the next step in the development and his getting more responsibility and learning and growing. So it plans to introduce a pet on Sesame Street, predated that the pandemic when animal adoption soared. Sesame Workshop hopes Tango leads to modeling of age-appropriate help with pets, the care and feeding. The time of it is perfect. It was not like we decided 6 months ago, let's create this new character, because a lot of people are adopting pandemic pets. But we do know that a lot of families have been adopting these pets since the pandemic as a source of comfort and joy. So with Elmo adopting Tango, it's going to mirror for many of our children what they're experiencing now at home, and we hope to help them understand how best to love and take care of their furry friends as well. Details about Tango have been carefully considered with internal discussions about what she should look like and what gender to pick. Winston Stallings, who has a long-haired Dachshund at home, put her own preferences aside for the common good. In the animated and song-filled film, Grover and Elmo go out during a play day and come across the friendly but sad stray pup sitting forlornly in a cardboard box. She loves music and dancing and scratches under her chin. Even Oscar the Grouch calls her a cute, adorable little fluff ball. Grover warns Elmo that whenever approaching a dog, move quietly and let them sniff the back of your hand. This is how doggies get to know you. Or should I say, knows you, says Grover. Ha ha ha, I'm sorry, I'm a big kid. But Tango remained a puppy, just like Elmo will always be 3.5 years old, but Wilson Stallings said her future as a recurring character is bright, with even the possibility of her own starring role someday. Right now, we're just really focusing on that relationship between she and Elmo as she gets to become more familiar with all the rest of the characters on Sesame Street. But if there are stories to be told and educational reasons to do so, we could potentially look at spinning off Tango into her own series. And that is your news for today. Thank you for taking a good look in news with Kim Seabrook. You're watching Millennium TV 24. Please make sure to download the apps on your iPhone and your Androids. If you have a smart TV, you can download the app. Your Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire Stick. Please download the app. We thank you for tuning in. I'm Kim Seabrook. You're watching Millennium TV 24 News. Have a good night.